Hi, I am Mahila Wilson. This is Straight Answers and Gospel channel. We are in this video series called Christian Worldview, and we are specifically talking about all different attributes of God. And in the last week video, we spoke about what does God's sovereignty means. That means God has all the authority to accomplish whatever He wants to accomplish. That's what we spoke about. And in this video, I would like to talk about how that is going to shape our worldview. What are the practical applications by that truth? So when we say God is sovereign, there are like so many questions about it. Almost like 80% of the questions from skeptics can be answered by these two truths. One, God is sovereign. Another one, man has a free will. So these two things are answered. Most of the skeptical question, I would think up to like 80% of the question that comes up against faith is based on not understanding these two truths or not affirming these two truths. And so now here I would like to talk about majorly two things that in view of God's sovereignty. So I would like to talk about how we can look at our struggle in view of God's sovereignty, and also I would like to talk about God's sovereignty and salvation. That will be in the next week video. So today we'll talk about God's sovereignty and our struggle, because if we say that God has all the power and He has all the authority to accomplish whatever He wants to accomplish, then why do we have struggle? That is a question any Christian might have. But we do have struggles, right? Always have. So there are multiple reasons for that. Like we experience our own sin or somebody else's sin, or there is a dominion that is dark, which is controlled by devil. He is real and he is an angel. He's a fallen angel. He becomes devil, and then he became devil, and he is responsible for some of our struggles. And our own sin is responsible for some of our struggle. And the world that is deprived, or other people's sin could be a reason for some of our struggle. All these things are there, and it is true. So there are so many reasons for it. But however, what we can do about God's sovereignty and our struggle is believing in one thing, that there is such a thing called God's sovereign purpose that is in work in all these things. And we are all part of that sovereign purpose. That truth can make us be a little bit firm when we go through struggles. It's not going to reduce our pain, our crying, our questions during this trial, but at least it will make us stand firm during the trial. The belief about God's sovereignty and that the truth about that we are part of His sovereign purpose can make us stand firm during the trial, I think. So that's why we need to understand all these attributes of God and how it can shape our view of the world, or how it can shape our day-to-day life. That's why it's very important. And also when we talk about the different kind of struggle, Bible talks about this, that it all works for good. That's what Bible says. It all works for good for whoever loves God. So if we love God, then it all works for good. It's not saying that it is all good, because not everything is good. We know for sure that everything that is happening to us, everything that is happening in the world, sometimes there is nothing good about certain things that happens, but it all works for good for His sovereign purpose, and we can believe that. So how are we applying this truth is, at times there is no particular reason, and we cannot come up with the reason for our struggle or somebody else's struggle, no matter how much we think. That reason is not revealed to us. Like, even if we know that sin, somebody else's sin, devil, world, all these things could be reasons for our struggle, but for certain kind of struggle, we cannot put that struggle into any of this category. And unfortunately, we don't know if it is devil's act or not. Any acts are. So it is very hard for us to sometimes find a particular reason. And also at times it looks very unfair. For example, let's talk about Peter and Stephen, right? Both of these people did the same exact thing. They both followed Jesus, and that was the only crime that they ever did, according to the Romans. But one person was killed, stoned and killed horribly. Another person was miraculously delivered. Peter was miraculously delivered. It was not a coincidence. It just didn't happen, and it was not because of the eloquence of Peter or anything to do with Peter. He was miraculously delivered, and Stephen was not, and he was killed. So from a human perspective, at least when we are looking at these two incidences, there is no difference, and two things turn out to be very different. The results turn out to be very different, and it seems very unfair. Sometimes that is what is the case when we go through struggle. It seems very unfair. It seems that we cannot find the exact reason for it. So in that situation, we can only affirm one thing, that God is good, and that is one truth that we can believe in, we can hold on to, and we can affirm it again and again when we walk through trial, and when we don't find the reason, and when we don't we feel like it is so unfair, then we can believe in that one truth and keep on affirming that God is good, and that doesn't change. And also another practical application is, I think, as Christians, by all means we should refrain from finding out reason for somebody else's struggle. That is unfortunately one of the very bad comforting techniques Christians use. When a person is in struggle, we try to find out, and some of us try to find out what is the reason for it, and we rationalize it and we reason it with the person who is struggling. Sometimes we say it could be because of your sin or somebody else's sin, or maybe it is devil. We give all these reasons, but unfortunately I don't think we know for sure the reason for the struggle, and that by all means we should refrain it by correcting any of these things until otherwise we know it for sure. Like, for example, if this person had a drug addiction and because of that there is a particular disease or particular health condition he or she is experiencing, that is a different story. But most of the time I think it is better for us to refrain from saying, this is the reason for your struggle and this is a particular reason for our struggle, but rather I think it is a better strategy, or it is always better to affirm what is true, that God is good no matter what, and it never changes. I think that will be a very good strategy with an unbeliever, with new Christians, or with anybody who is going through struggle in that sense. So that is what is about God's sovereignty and struggle that I wanted to talk about. And also I wanted to add this, I saw a television series. It is about one particular AI. It's a well-known television series, and it is about an AI that was created with the core command to save human race. But however, with that core command, this AI went to the extreme and it almost wiped off all the human race. When we talk about God's sovereignty, we are not talking about a core command or something that he has to uphold, and that is what is like he is obsessively following. That is not what we are talking about. When we are talking about God's sovereign will, we are talking about the commander himself, and the commander who is so personal, the commander who is as much as loving as much as he is sovereign. And we are talking about that. So when we talk about sovereign will, we need to be understanding, or the sovereign purpose behind all these things, we need to understand that that purpose is a perfect, beautiful, and good purpose for us. And that is how we need to understand. It is not like some data feed that has to be upheld no matter what. That is not how God works. God, when we talk about God's attribute, this is how we need to understand God's sovereignty. God's sovereign, and he is equally loving. It is not like God doesn't possess these things. God is all these. So as much as God is sovereign, he is also loving, and as much as he is patient, he is also holy. So that is how we have to understand. You cannot separate God from any of this. He is all of this, and he doesn't have them a little bit more or less, like God doesn't have a little bit more love than a little bit less sovereignty, nothing like that. It is all his attribute, and it is all who he is, and that is how we need to understand. And with that I wanted to leave you. So if you are a Christian, believe me this, we are all part of his sovereign purpose, and that purpose is a beautiful one, that purpose is a good one, and that purpose is from our personal God. And with that, I wanted to leave you in this week video. And in the coming week video, I would like to talk about sovereignty and salvation. It's a big question, and a little bit we will talk about that in the next week video. And if you like this video, please like, share, and comment. If you like all our videos, please subscribe to our channel. And I would like to thank you for watching this video, and may God bless you.